And hello and welcome to the Legends of the Wind podcast. I'm your host, Jurri Schenck. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Oh man, this is so cool. This is exciting because my guest, Taylor Pircey, is going to be with us shortly. And her story is a very unique story. It's called the Tiffany Chandelier. And just before I started the show, I had a brief conversation with her. She and I have never met before until tonight, and she can confirm that. But we were talking about the importance of story, and it really got me excited because the idea is that, does the church know its story? Do you know your story? I was doing research recently about Christian leaders who love storytelling, and I'm finding that they're in the Anglican world or the Catholic world or the high church world. And I've noticed in my research that typical evangelical or charismatic Christians are not really that interested in storytelling from what I've found. And I have been looking for other people on the planet that do what I do, which is prophetic story. And it kind of reminds me of a journal entry I had when this whole thing got started. I'm going to share this with you. So this was when I was journaling years ago. One night on January 20th, 2008, I journaled the following. Holy Spirit said, "And when the time comes for you to be ushered into my presence, I will help you believe that my story and my history are sound and of good shape. The people in Hollywood will come to you for this story, not a mere screenplay, but an understanding of the story that I'm writing. The ability to see and to understand story is vital for my church and that transformation of the culture. To know the enemy, to know the heroes, to know the quest and the stakes, to take the risks, to believe in your heart that what you are called to be and to do are desperate and necessary. These are elements that must return to the consciousness of the culture. The ability to tell stories will open people's eyes. Bring a bridge to the word and to the author. I am writing your story. I am perceiving your greatness and your sight and your sound. You will be able to walk into a room and tell people's their story. Prophecy and prophetic words will change. It won't be a mere description of their past in a literal sense, but a telling of their true character as I define it. You will speak to their past in story form, and then you will hand them their future and let them finish their parable." So that's a little window, a little behind the scenes of what God has been doing with Legends of the Wind and prophetic story. So those of you who are new, I'd like to kind of briefly tell you the difference between a prophetic word and a prophetic story. A prophetic word is kind of a direct language kind of approach. It's what we call an indicative language. But a prophetic story is a narrative. It's a story. It's got characters, it's got conflict, it's got a problem, it's got a journey, a solution, a transformation, and it's about you, where you get to discover who you are and your identity and destiny for you to discover your story. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring in my guest, Taylor. Okay. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Cool. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. This is exciting.
You're so welcome. I'm very excited.
Cool. By the way, how do you pronounce your last name?
Piercy, you got it right.
I did, Pierce. Thank you very much. So this is cool. So Taylor, have I ever talked to you before today at all?
No.
I've met Taylor for the first time tonight. I wrote her story, I think, Friday morning. So Taylor, talk about who you are, introduce yourself, and also share with why you wanted your own story.
My name is Taylor. I live in the Los Angeles area. I am a wedding photographer and I shoot all my weddings on analog film. So I've always loved things that are antiques or historical, and I love capturing beauty and light in a way that brings God glory. I wanted my own story because I personally have a lot of dreams and visions from the Lord, and I value stories. I try to tell good stories in my own work as a wedding photographer, and I believe God can really encourage and affirm things through stories.
That's so good to hear. Wow, thank you. Cool. Well, It's such a pleasure to meet you. And so, have you seen any previous shows or anything like that about?
I've seen one previous show.
Okay, very good. Well, awesome. So I want to give you a little bit of insight on how to receive a prophetic story, and this is for you and for the audience. Okay, so a prophetic story, is meant to be understood symbolically, not literally. It's kind of like dream language or dream interpretation. It's not a literal little telling. So there'll be symbols, ideas, hidden treasures for you to perceive and to discover. And by the way, Taylor, in this process, you have power. You can say, yes, I received this prophetic story, or no, I don't. And you can also say, I need time to chew on this and to process this. Now, the story that I'm going to give you tonight is a revelation. And after I read the story to you, it's a time of interpretation where it's on you to discover what are the treasures God's showing you in your story. Also, we haven't seen anybody in the chat, but for those who are watching, you're welcome to be participating in the chat for the time of interpretation. If you know Taylor, you're friends with her, have ideas, feel free to share. Now, after that time of interpretation, Taylor, we want to have the goal of the application. So now that you have this revelation that's applied to your life, what are you going to do with it? What's the action you need to take? Okay?
Okay.
Sound good? So for everybody who's watching, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Legends of the Wind here on YouTube. And hit the bell button as well to have notifications. We try to have shows on a weekly basis. And I want to thank you so much for your support. All right, so Taylor, I haven't asked you this earlier, but what time is it?
Actual time? 6:40.
Story time.
Story time.
I know, I
Nice.
forgot to prep you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so cute. Awesome. Very good. So here we go. This is your story. Ready?
I'm ready.
The Tiffany Chandelier. Taylor always loved a good party with her friends, to have fun, play games, chit-chat, drink a little. All of this brought her a greater sense of community. At tonight's party, her friends from college were going to come over and play billiards. Taylor worked quite hard to get all the ingredients for the festivities. Not only was it time to reconnect, it was also her birthday. Taylor doesn't like surprises, so she wanted to arrange her own party herself and allow her friends some wiggle room. In Taylor's heart, she is the hostess with the mostest. Tonight was special, as she wanted to show off that she finally settled in her life. The friends arrived with some beer, cocktails, and a bottle of wine. Others brought a shrimp finger food tray along with crackers and cheese. Taylor was full to the brim with joy. The billiard party began with several players pairing off and taking their turns. With one strike after strike, the players knocked the balls around and eventually sank them into their various pockets. One of her friends was a young lady from college who seemed sad and out of place, not really wanting to engage. Taylor noticed and came alongside to see what was the matter. This friend shared that her father had recently died from a heart attack, and she felt incredibly lost in life. Taylor understood and consoled her. With some hopeful energy, Taylor invited her to a game of billiards to process things. The girlfriend complied and smiled, trying to piece herself together. Taylor and the girl faced off around the green surface table, with Taylor breaking up the stack of balls. The lighting was dim and moody from the Tiffany chandelier above them. It was a priceless heirloom from Taylor's family that they passed on. Taylor positioned her cue and hit the ball too hard, and it went flying off the table and landed on the couch nearby. Everyone gasped. This mistake caused Taylor to lose her focus, and she flipped up her stick and struck the chandelier, breaking it into multiple pieces, colored glass flying everywhere. The crash caused the entire party and its activities to halt, and everything became silent. Taylor cried out, "Oh no!" Taylor immediately went to gather the various pieces and see if she could recover them. The significant error wasn't just accidentally breaking up a fancy chandelier, but it was much deeper. The family heirloom was a witness to the various difficult times in Taylor's life. From the arguments, the heartbreaks, the yelling and screaming, the wanting to hide away, mixed with celebrations like tonight. Taylor's past had a strong mixed bag and was full of hidden pains that she wanted to stuff away. But this Tiffany Chandelier was the witness, who was always looking from high above and peering down on all the heartache. To Taylor, the chandelier was something she found beautiful and symbolic in her life. The different colored glass all held together like the fragments of her soul. The destruction here opened a can of worms for Taylor. And why did this have to happen on her birthday? Gentle tears streamed down her face, and she worked to make the repair. All of her friends went to help and collect the pieces. Taylor felt like it was Humpty Dumpty, and she couldn't put them back together again. Nevertheless, her friends, her support group, all went to work and made it happen. They comforted Taylor and encouraged her, saying it was only an accident. The mess became organized, and the pieces were all brought together, and the celebration began again. Order returned. Taylor went back to her girlfriend, and they shared their hearts, a true give and take. Both of them had their heartaches, and together they became stronger. Taylor saw that this Tiffany chandelier was a reminder for her to take care of her soul, and that she has work to do. She also understood that constantly distracting herself with fun and parties would only let the wounds fester more and more. "Where's the birthday girl?" shouted her guests. Taylor turned around to see that her friends held up a pink birthday cake full of candles blazing away. All of them sang happy birthday to Taylor, and they took pictures when she blew out the candles. The friends also presented her various gift bags with presents that showed that they knew her well. As the party ended, they all cleaned up, even though it was late at night. The emotional ups and downs of the evening exhausted Taylor. Her friends left, and Taylor's heart was full. Taylor returned to the broken Tiffany chandelier as it sat on the counter top of the wet bar. She determined in her heart to take steps and fix things up. That night in her dreams, Taylor relived some of the most traumatic times in her life. But this time, they were different. With each dream, she remembered the pain. But, like a magical paintbrush, a great artist came and repainted the scenes and rewrote her stories. Healing began in her heart. The great artist was masterful and gave her an understanding of the events of trauma. With each memory after each memory, the paintbrush showed incredible new designs. These dark images turned beautiful, and Taylor could finally see and feel again. Inceptio.
Wow. That is that story was on the money in so many ways.
Okay. How so?
Well, for one, I do love throwing parties. I actually had my own, it wasn't a company, but I called them honey and wine dinners, and I would host people in my home, and then they grew bigger and bigger, where I would create the menu and set the table and run the whole thing. So that is very true to something I love, parties and hosting. The Lord blessed me with a home of my own. And for a while when I lived there, I would have people over all the time and love hosting them. And I would throw my own birthday parties quite often. So that is all very accurate.
Wow,
Um,
cool.
I also love old things like Tiffany chandeliers. And though I
Oh,
don't own one, I definitely have a lot of items in storage now. But when I had a house that were out that reminded me of the past, I would collect things that reminded me of significant moments or places
oh.
I'd traveled. And while my family doesn't have many heirlooms, it's also something I always wanted.
Mm.
To a point where my dad even bought me a silver comb one Christmas because he knew I liked
A comb for
heirloom
hair?
items. Yeah, and he's like,
Oh.
here's an heirloom thing because I know we don't have many and you want one. So that also hits home. I do have a lot of hard traumatic things that
Mm.
I've been through, but also I published a book maybe 2 years ago about my life story in
Really?
attempts to process those things. And I felt
Oh,
like when I published that, it's not like I've forgotten that they happened, but the sting isn't there
oh
anymore in
wow.
a weird
Okay.
way. So I also, that was an interesting parallel from your story as well. And even the friends pitching in to help put it back together and heal certain things, I've
Mm-hmm.
found a lot of healing in my relationships with friends and the way that
Mm-hmm.
they've helped me tell my story or process things. So that also felt very accurate. And my sister is actually now a professional billiards player. So that's also a funny little thing that was added into the story.
Oh my goodness. See, this is so crazy. I had no idea. That's so cool.
That is
Wow.
cool.
Wow. Is your are your parents still alive or are they okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I was wondering about the girl in the story who had their father pass away from a heart attack, and I was like wondering about that. But the fact is that there's so many other things that are strong themes in your actual life. It's so encouraging. That's so cool.
Well,
Wow.
I don't have a friend who's lost a father like that, but
Right.
I definitely had many moments with friends where they're going through something hard and I try
Yeah.
to, help them
Yeah.
incorporate back in with community. So that at least is very accurate as well.
Well, that's. Do you think you have a mercy personality in that sense? Do you know what that means by
I
showing
think I have the
mercy?
gift of showing grace.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
really, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Wow. And so your sister in real life is a professional billiards player?
As of recently, actually,
Oh
yes,
my gosh. Wow. That's so freaking weird. Amazing.
it
This
is.
is the
It
story.
is weird.
Wow. That's amazing. Um, so the silver comb was an heirloom that your dad actually wanted to pass on, right?
Well, he purchased it for me because
Oh,
he didn't have any.
all right. That's what I meant. Okay, cool. So the book that you wrote, right? You said it doesn't sting as much anymore.
Hmm.
Do you think your story I read to you tonight is a reflection of your past or past and present? Or like how would you see time in your journey? Like where are you on your map kind of thing?
I feel like it's more past into
Okay.
the present. I currently rent out my home, so I don't
Mm.
have that as a space to host anymore.
Mhm.
And lately I have been missing that, the freedom and just
Mm.
the space to have people over. So that I think is accurate. I think it's both the past and just a reminder of what I used to have access to and don't at the moment, kind of as an encouragement that this isn't a forever season and I'll
Yeah.
have that again one day maybe, but I have been reflecting a lot on changes that have happened in my life the past year or two. Um, and this whole story seemed very encouraging as to affirming what's taken place, affirming things God has done,
Mm.
and affirming the current moment of you are in a season where you've been putting pieces back together and healing,
Mhm.
and now you get to look to the future and you have your community around you helping you.
That's good. You're so well spoken. So thank you very much. Wow.
Thank you.
Um the the Tiffany lamp or the Tiffany chandelier. It talked about it always was looking down. How could you unpack further the symbolism for you and what means to you about the chandelier? Like, is there any other way of looking at it that you find personally an idea to?
Well, chandeliers cast light, and a
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany chandelier casts multicolored light.
Right.
I've actually always loved them, which is funny. We used to
Mm-hmm.
go to the spaghetti factory growing up, and they have Tiffany chandeliers over every table there.
Oh yeah.
I've always been drawn to light and color. That's one of the things I love about photography is
Yes.
capturing beauty in those aspects. So I think that's significant to me. As a kid, I dissociated a lot, and
Mm.
not that I was out of my body all the time, but you mentioned in the story
Yeah.
screaming and yelling. Much of my childhood was full of screaming and yelling. There was
Mm-hmm.
some difficult stuff going on at home.
Yeah.
So I many times would just leave my body and watch things play out from a distance because
Mm-hmm.
it was too hard to be present. And
Right.
even what you
Right.
were talking about, like withdrawing and kind of removing myself,
Mm-hmm.
I did not like having the spotlight on me, and I didn't like having attention on me growing up because
Mm.
if there was attention, I felt like I was in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if there wasn't attention on me, I wasn't in trouble. So maybe
Mm.
in a way, that
It's
lamp
interesting.
being above and observing things could be what my soul used to do. It would just hover away and let things happen to my body and
Wow.
not be as hurt, and maybe try to preserve some of that beauty or my personality or
Wow.
whatever by being more disconnected from who I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But when I wrote that book, a lot of that was diving into the shattering, so to speak, or what
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, me having a dream in
Yeah.
the story where I
Yeah.
relived those traumas. I actually had an actual waking vision one night when I
Hmm.
was up in the mountains where I woke up in cold sweats and I couldn't calm down. I was super warm. So I went and took a shower, and God put so many old memories back in my head and made my body relive it in a
Wow.
way I didn't when they
Wow.
happened
Yeah.
because I was removed from my body. And that is a big part of my book where he made me process traumatic things that I had ignored because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't deal with it at the time. So even that part of the story is very accurate to how I felt writing the book, was reliving those things in my head intentionally to help heal some of that stuff.
I mean, you said it the best right then. I mean, the way you describe it. I mean, I didn't think about the Tiffany Chandelier as you. I mean, I know that it was the pieces of glass, but when you talk about a disassociation where you leave your body and you're out here away, what you said about that being you as the chandelier disassociating. Oh my gosh, that's so spot on for my understanding. I
Mm,
mean, that's great. And the thing is, like, the fact that you've already done most of this work is really a powerful thing because there's so many people out there that are hurting. And you used your autobiography approach to do that. That was your method. And thank God. You know,
yes.
really. And also, I'm thinking, like, do you see this story in any form as a future oriented message in any way at all? Or do you think it's past, present only?
I don't really see it as being future.
Okay.
I see it as being very affirmative of the past and present, which the way my brain works,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't feel settled in the past and present, I don't have a very hopeful outlook on the future. So to me, I guess it could be future oriented in that sense, where closure and affirmation of
Right.
what happened gives me permission to grow and move into the next season.
Oh, that's spot on because also it said here in the first page tonight was special and she wanted to show off that she finally settled in her life. So one of the things about Legends of the Wind and prophetic story, we call it becoming a legend. So a legend, you could be famous, right? You could be someone who's well known, a celebrity. But legends are on a map and they serve a function and they show symbols that represent different things and locations.
Mm,
And so when you get a prophetic story, you are having an affirmation or a revelation of your identity and destiny. Before I met you tonight, I was pondering your story, wondering if I was opening up a can of worms of trauma for in the middle of the show. But now you've shown me that you and Jesus have already done a lot of work, and that's huge. And so this is like this is you becoming a legend. This is who you are, and I would like to speak to your future. Um, I believe because you've done this work, you have experience, authority, understanding, wisdom, and the ability to help other people along your journey.
mm,
If other people come across your path that they need help, just like that girl in the story with the loss of her father, you have that grace gift of helping people. So I would say that you are becoming settled now
mm,
in your identity as a daughter.
mm.
You're 27 years old. You are becoming more solid in your spirit and your soul, and you are becoming settled as a person, an adult at your age. Now you have to help. You have the ability to help others, maybe people who are your peers, for example. And I would encourage you that there's a thing in my book that I'm about to publish called A Story to Tell. And so you can talk about your autobiography and use that and all the lessons you've learned to be able to speak to other hurting hearts. I believe that that's something that you potentially have the capability to do because you went through that process.
You know, my name is Taylor, and what
Mm-hmm.
it breaks down to is someone who binds together what should be
Ah.
joined and breaks apart what should not be together. And it
Oh,
also means gifted. And so when you're talking about that chandelier shattering,
yes.
that also reminds me of that, like putting back pieces together so that it's not just beautiful again, but there's a new sense of ownership and wholeness. And I think what you're saying and helping others, we all live with a shattered lamp of some form. And
Right.
I think that's also probably part of my gifting is helping people piece back together their lamps.
Yes. Good. I do this with story. And also, I have a screenwriting background for filmmaking, but you are a photographer. And depending on the photographer, it's not the camera, it's the one who holds the camera. And you know this. So maybe you've probably already done this for the past 2 or 3 years, right? But maybe your eyes getting better and better in your photography, where you can capture the hidden treasures of people in front of you,
Hmm.
where your photography will inspire the subject in front of you. And then when people see your prints or slides or however you get the display, you're going to have that capturing moment of those men and women. I believe that what work you've done in your soul will affect the quality and the style of your photography and the images that you capture.
I received that. Thank you.
Yes. Now, I was talking to you before the show and tonight, and I was telling you about the old film stock in the silent film era, right? So, for the
Hmm.
audience's sake, so I'm making a parallel of photography or filmmaking with the power of prophetic revelation, Holy Spirit. In the early silent film era, the film stock in those days was made of cellulose nitrate, which is the same material that you make dynamite. So many movie theaters would blow up or burn down and catch fire because of the nature of the film, the negative. And so God showed me that cameras, like your photography, is a shutter opening up and capturing light. So it's like a aha moment, a revelation that makes a light impression on the negative, and then that transforms into an image cast either on a print or a projector. And the film is from cellulose nitrate, which is like dynamite. Holy Spirit means dunamis in the Bible.
Hmm.
And that word dynamite comes from dunamis. So, Taylor, you said it perfectly about your name. The Tiffany lamp, it's the pieces. A tailor pieces together clothing or separates things. You are already thinking symbolically. You're already thinking visually, and you're capturing it already. And
Hmm.
all of that with your photography can produce revelation in your photography.
I love
So,
that.
so you do weddings or portraits or whatever you choose. You are able to see. You can see beyond. There's a saying from Kim Clement. I don't know if you know him.
Hmm.
He says, "Eyes that look are common, but eyes that see are rare."
Hmm.
So you as a photographer can do this. And I want to affirm that that's your future. If you have it in your heart to continue doing photography and God can bless you and provide financially for you, then I say go and ascend. Go
Hmm.
for it. Let it become something that truly makes your heart come alive, kind of thing. And then people can see your work, and you get more business and more exposure, and people find out that you're shining.
Thank you. I received that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
great. Do you think, I mean, I don't know. I know I've been doing a lot of personal work with inner healing and deliverance. The past year and a half or more, I've been working with my coach on this. I had huge change from Jesus showing up to my dark, dark memories.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think we're always, or we're 100% fixed. I'm sure there's work that Jesus will do even later in life. But if there happens to be anything that comes up, Taylor, any triggering moments, just in case. I'm just saying this just in case. But take care of yourself if you get triggered, and if you need to, reach out to certain people who would be able to help you with that. But I'm so proud of you, really, that you've done this work, and so I think that lamp is so beautiful, and the fact that there were so many things about your family and your life that rang true here. To me, this is so encouraging because it's Jesus who loves you so much, and He wrote you a beautiful story,
Hmm.
and He's saying, "I'm so stinking proud of you." And there's a saying I like to use in my show called "permission granted," and I think this goes with your photography, with your journey. Taylor, you have permission granted to pursue the dreams of your heart, the God given dreams that He planted in you, the seeds, the fruitfulness, all of that He's given you. You have been given permission granted from Father in heaven to co create, to co labor, to co author your story. Shoot those photographs, light the lamps, make people beautiful and handsome. You have that ability, and you have heaven's permission to be one of the greatest photographer artists He can make you be.
Mm.
That is His initiation to you.
Thank you. That's funny you say it that way because I think one of the biggest hangups has just been me trusting my identity in him, that not that deserving it is the right word, but sometimes I think too lowly of myself. And the
Mm,
biggest hurdle has been trusting that God has brought me to a gift like this and that he'll bless me to co-create with him. That's been a conversation I've been having with him
yes,
and have felt much more assurance or relief to go and follow. So thank you.
absolutely. Um, John Eldridge, the Christian author, do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he wrote in one of his books that fathers bestow identity and initiate destiny.
Hmm.
That's the function of a father. I function that way in your story to you. So when I say you have permission granted, I'm affirming your identity. You have self doubt, right? Well, you need to hear from someone who doesn't know you, writes an amazing story that speaks to your heart, knows it's from heaven. He is reaching out to you, Taylor, and your heart. And Father God saying to you, I affirm you and I bestow upon you your destiny, and I give you an initiation of your destiny, and I affirm your identity. You are precious in His sight. You are. And, there's a saying, follow the gold. So, whatever God shows in your heart about your identity and His promises to you, those are gold bricks from heaven,
Hmm.
treasures from heaven. So follow the gold, because Jesus is the gold, but He's also made you. And also, it's like, photography, you talk about exposure and light settings and f-stops and shutter speed and ISO and, how's my light meter working? All of that, light. The Bible says that God is the Father of lights. And that Father God, He is light and He's love. So while we can look at ourselves on this computer screen in our frail, fragile physical body, inside us is our true spirit as he loves you. He has made you his light, and he's your father. And so I would say give yourself permission to let your light shine in your photography, in your confidence, in your identity. You can do this. You have what it takes. There are so many good things coming your way.
Thank you.
I hope that tonight's show really empowered you from a place of heavenly points of view.
Definitely.
I can see you holding everything together right now. I can see your face here. We have Kathleen, the wonderful Kathleen, and also my mom says encouraging both of you. That's my mom. And then my spiritual mom is Kathleen, and she says, "This is beautiful. God restores not back what was to what was, but what it intended to be for Taylor, with his bright light and heavenly color."
Aw.
It's so cute. Wow.
That is so sweet.
Well, any final thoughts before we go to our break, Taylor?
No, I just feel very blessed by this story that the Lord gave you and very
Good.
blessed to receive it.
Awesome. That's so beautiful to hear. Well, thank you, Taylor. Taylor, you've been a wonderful guest. Now, before we go to break, I want to talk to... I have to put this comment up. Taylor, follow the yellow brick road. That is so good. That's so good.
That's so good.
Now, for those of you who are watching, obviously you can see that this show and what God's doing is something very unique and very special. And if you want to receive a prophetic story for yourself, or are interested in having an experience like this, go to our website, legendsofthewind.com, and select Request Your Story. We are a nonprofit ministry, and in this season, we are sowing into all sorts of people at no cost to them for doing what we do, what I do. And so we would encourage you that if you are interested in supporting us, get your story, and it would be really powerful to see what God does for you. And that we also encourage you to sow into us. We are building this. There really isn't anybody out there that we know of that is doing prophetic story in this way. And like I said at the beginning of the show, the church needs to return to story. I've heard from others that we've exhausted systematic theology. But when we have transformation and change from God, it comes from an experience with Jesus. And you can't get that from a concordance. You get it through relationship and encounters. And so these prophetic stories at Legends of the Wind are a documented encounter, like a dream, for the people who we minister to. So we're going to take a quick break for about a minute or so. And if you're interested in supporting us, we want to thank you so much for that time of giving. Also, be right back. So everybody, thanks for your support for what we're doing here. We love to express the prophetic gifts through the creative arts. You know, my wife is a prophetic artist and an illustrator. And Taylor, I don't know if you've seen these before when I did the other show, but you can also, those of you watching, when you get a story, you can not only just receive one from us, but my wife can paint a book for you,
Oh, wow.
an illustration of your story, a cover, and it could be in hardbound or softbound. And there's all sorts of different styles because everyone's story is so unique and different. And Alisha is so talented with what she can do with her digital art, and many different ways of approaching prophetic stories. So these things are special because they're like a keepsake. You know, you can have your prophetic story. There's some journaling entries, information in there. You can journal your dreams, and it is a wonderful time to say, "This is what God told me from the library of heaven." So those are some opportunities that we provide on our website. So if you're interested in doing that, go to legendsofthewind.com, go to our store, and you can request a story for free. And then you can also order a story, a book cover from Alisha. So thank you. Thanks for giving, everyone. Taylor, thank you so much for being my guest tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Before we go, I have a question. If you were to meet somebody who had never heard of prophetic storytelling before, and you would explain it to them, what would you say? And what would you say if you wanted to encourage them to get their own prophetic story?
I would encourage them to get one, and I would tell them that it gives God an opportunity to love them in a unique language that maybe only they would resonate with, and to be open to the treasures He might want to show them and the love He might want to give them through a source that they weren't expecting.
Wow, that's good. Thank you so much. Kathleen, thank you for your comment. She said, Jurri, your healed soul is shining through this story and your responses. Thank you for your affirmation. My heart, of course, for you, Taylor, is to be an absolute blessing to you, to encourage you as well. So, by the way, when we go off the air, don't hang up. I forgot to tell you this, but you
Okay.
can meet my wife, Alisha. But everybody, this has been, yet again, wonderful time with my guests and with Jesus showing up with the power of a prophetic story for people. I am always consistently amazed at what he does through the stories to help the people. So thank you everyone for watching. It's been a wonderful night. And Taylor, thank you again for being my guest. And well, I guess that's it, guys. And her story is called The Tiffany Chandelier, and it is a testimony from heaven for her. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.